My guest today, Kirsten, understands that time is the most valuable asset for any business owners. But quite often, we're not too exactly sure how to get that time back. But she knows that with the support of a VA, business owners can free up their time to focus on really growing their income, learning how to delegate, and feeling better about what they do and how much they're working. In this episode, we are sitting down and talking about outsourcing, delegating, the do's, the don'ts, the things you need to watch out for, and the different VAs that are out there and available to you. So get ready to have some light bulbs turn on and your time back. Let's dive in.
Welcome to the Fox Talks Business Podcast. I'm your host, Tanya Fox, money mentor, business coach, and author. If you're a business owner who's been around the block but still feels stuck in the financial fog or hustling without getting real results, well, you're in the right place. Each week, I'm going to dive into money mastery, mindset shifts, and real-world strategies to help you grow and profit sustainably. You're going to hear unfiltered conversations, bold ideas, and practical, proven ways to start growing your business. So if you're ready to break past the plateau, make more, stress less, and have fun doing it, let's dive in.
Hello, Foxy listeners. Welcome back to the show. As many of you know from listening to the last couple of episodes, we have a new format, which means I've been bringing on even better experts to chat with you today. And my guest today is no exception to that rule. I'm really excited to chat with her today about outsourcing, about getting your time back, which I've been hearing you guys talk about. It is exactly what you want. And she's here to help us figure out how it is that we're going to do that. Kirsten, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you so much for having me. And I love the fact that you call them Foxy listeners. I love that.
So now we've been kind of deep diving each other and snooping, but
Yes.
For those that haven't had the opportunity, tell us a little bit of background about you.
Sure. So actually, my background's real estate. I know your background was corporate. So I've always been self-employed and I started as a real estate agent. I eventually moved to the mortgage side. Eventually, I went on to own a mortgage company and a title company and lots of real estate. And what happened was I did a lot of loans for self-employed people. I would see their business tax returns and their personal tax returns. And then inevitably they would say, can I take you to lunch and pick your brain? So I mentored other business owners for well over a decade. And then I actually started charging for it and started a coaching business. And what that really led to was seeing how many business owners needed support in their business. And now I kind of refer to myself jokingly, I'm an outsourcing specialist, but I have a lot of clients that call us the outsourcing queens. So just helping people really build a team that supports them so they can buy back their time.
Well, and I think this is such a big topic. And one of the reasons I wanted to have you on the show, because I think there's a lot of fear that, is coming around. People are going like, I don't know who I'm getting or where I'm getting them from. I feel like, I have to have like copious amounts of work for this person to do, and so there's all of these like questions that are popping up more and more now as like, everyone and their brother is calling themselves a VA.
Exactly.
So what are some of the things like when you have sort of a fresh perspective on outsourcing? Talk to us about, when people should need to actually sit down and start considering this. And then what are some of the things that are like a few questions that they really need to be asking themselves when they do that?
So first of all, outsourcing is so affordable. And it's so much easier now. We started outsourcing 19 years ago. That was before Zoom. It was before Skype. I mean, it was really all email conversations. And we like to joke, if it could be done wrong, we did it wrong. We were taken advantage of many times. We were, probably really crappy bosses many times. But it's so easy now to build a virtual team and so affordable. So I always encourage people to hire before you think you can. Because what happens is if you get to the point where you're totally in the weeds, that is not a good place to be hiring from because you're already maxed out and it's hard to go back and think about the job description and the job post. And if you haven't documented everything, then you have to create your standard operating procedures and your onboarding process. So doing those things before you're crazy busy is helpful. And I actually do work with quite a few startups. We work with a lot of people, interesting enough, that are in their 60s and 70s and starting businesses. And most of them obviously didn't grow up with technology. And they are very willing from day one to outsource the tech side. And I think that's amazing. Why spend hours and months or years learning how to do something that is soul sucking and that you hate to do and is not your unique ability, when you can actually very affordably hire somebody who that is their unique ability, that is their area of genius, and then they get to really use their skills to do what they do best. And that's how the business, I think, can grow exponentially. And it's a way more enjoyable process for the owner.
Well, and I think people need to remember that. Like, I can tell you from experience how many times I've called my son down and been like, this video editor isn't working. And he's like, click, 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 click. And I'm like, oh,
yes.
Well, that was great.
Right, exactly.
As opposed to, dealing with the 4 or 5 hours. And that was where I was, when I hired my first assistant, I was in the weeds at that point in time. And there was a struggle because I had to also overcome that feeling of, why am I hiring somebody to do this? It's just easier and faster for me to do it myself than to try to explain to somebody how to do it. And it took me a while to realize, like you had said, but it's soul sucking when I do it.
Right. Yes. Yes. And it is very interesting. Men and women are very different. I joke that men would delegate everything. Hey, I like to go to the bathroom at 2:00 in the afternoon. Will you do that for me? Like, they would delegate everything, right? And women, on the other hand, I think so much of their self-worth is tied up in being able to do it. But what happens is when you are doing those soul-sucking and incredibly time-consuming things, you're actually costing yourself a lot of money. And one of the questions I like to ask people is, why in the world would you ever do a $6 an hour task? Like, isn't your time more valuable than that? Isn't your family more important than that? And so when you think about editing a video or audio editing, I do not need to know how to edit a video to be able to say to my video editor, oh my gosh, I hate that transition. It's too fast and jerky. I really prefer smooth transitions. Or, hey, that B-roll that you picked is a group of men in suits walking down what looks like Wall Street. That is not going to really speak to my audience. 80% of my audience is women. The other 20% are men, but they're all self-employed. They're not walking down Wall Street in a suit. And it's so important that my B-roll and my images, I want the people who are watching our content to think, oh, that's me. I relate with that. I want it to invoke emotion. I can coach my editor how to do that without being able to do it.
Right. And I think that's where people get stuck, right? They think that they have to have all of the knowledge, like, I need to know how to do all of these things so I can properly, sort of critique it, as opposed to going, being able to have the beauty of going, no, I don't like that.
Exactly.
Or it's not colors, or that I would never say that, or,
Yes. Well, think about the people that buy franchises. You don't have to know how to flip a burger, or necessarily flip burgers to own a McDonald's franchise. The whole point is to be able to buy into systems and processes and hire the right people to do those jobs. And that's the other thing that we really do for our clients, is we do provide standard operating procedures and detailed instructions for how things are get done. I really believe we lead people and we manage tasks, and tasks can effectively be managed through SOPs and project management software.
Well, and I think there's a lot of times too that business owners are sort of like, they're feeling like that, they're doing well in their business, but that, that wealth or where they're at right now is also causing them to have to sacrifice, nights, weekends, sanity to kind of keep that up. Do you think that's also an area too where, having, building a team in place allows you to be able to do what we all really wanted to do in business, was to have more time, right? We didn't start business going, I want to start a business and work and worry 24/7. Like, that's That's the
Yeah.
dream.
Well, that running joke is entrepreneurs are the only people that'll leave a 40-hour a week job to work 80 hours a week for themselves without health insurance, So and I think there's a big difference too if a person wants to just they just want to be self-employed. They want to start a business to employ themselves, and that's the vision that they have, and they don't want to take it any further. That's 100% fine. There are lots of industries you can do that and do fairly well. But for people who truly want to build a business, something that could be sellable or scalable, the reality is we can't do it all on our own. There's just no way. And whether you are hiring someone to cut your grass or to clean your house or to do your laundry, if it's freeing you up to focus on growing the business, and again, you can make more money working than you can cleaning your house or paying someone to clean your house, it just makes sense. And again, I think the biggest challenge for women is feeling like you deserve it. And I will promise you, every woman out there, you deserve to have support in your business. You deserve to have support at home if that's what you need, so that you can really focus on the relationships with your clients and having a big impact, the relationships that you have with your family, and any charitable work that you want to do to make the world a better place. That's where your time is best spent.
Well, and I love that because I think a lot of times people, get it in their head, outsourcing only means, tasks that I do within my business. But I love that, you're saying this could be anything. This could be just like, how can you sit down at your desk today? And, and we often don't, right? We see something, I just did this afternoon. Like I had lunch and then I ended up, doing dishes, and I was like, man, like, but I saw a need and I thought, oh, I should probably do that, not leaving it, for later. So I think, people being able to hear that the outsourcing is anything that allows you to have more time to work on what your expertise is.
Right. And something simple. So I just raced back for this interview. So I ran to Petco to get some dog food, and then I had to run to the vet to get some prescription dog food. And when I was driving back, because we're moving in about 6 weeks, and I thought, well, when I move, I am definitely going to order these items on auto shipped through Chewy, because again, one, it could be a little bit cheaper if it's auto shipped. And two, it can just come to the house every month and I don't have to run out and do it. So there are even little things like that you can do. Does it kill me to go to the pet store or the vet to pick up food? No. But sometimes I just don't have the time. And so it's nice to just think about, well, I can just have those things delivered. And that's one less thing I have to think about. And as business owners, especially if you're in creating mode, you're creating courses or programs, or you're adding new products or services, we need that space and that creative energy to be able to do those things. And sometimes there's little errands and all those little tasks that we have to do just for normal life. If we can automate those in any way, shape, or form, it can just make things so much better.
Yeah. And I think it's true. I just had this conversation with my husband yesterday because he was like, it only takes like 5 minutes. And I'm like, you set a stopwatch. I guarantee you nothing you do in life just takes 5 minutes. Right. But we think that, right? We think,
yes.
Oh, this is, like you said, just going to get dog food is like a simple task. But it's really, it takes you so much time that we don't really realize because it's just 5 minutes. Right.
Right. Exactly. And it's interesting too. I think, for me, because I've had businesses that have had employees, when we first started helping our clients outsource, in the beginning, it was just marketing virtual assistants. And now we have, software VAs and bookkeeping VAs and things like that. But what really surprised me the most was how many clients came back and said things like, oh my gosh, I had no idea how much I was beating myself up because I couldn't get everything done. Or I had no idea how lonely I was in my business. And now that I have this person who's editing my videos and creating social, and we get to have these meetings each week and talk about it, and I get to see how excited and passionate they are about what they're creating for the business, I just didn't realize I was lonely. And I just love having this other person and this energy, and I've become way more creative. Or things like, I feel like a real business owner now that I have support in my business. And we don't think about it, but confidence is really important for business owners. And sometimes those little things of just delegating things that, like I said, soul sucking, or things that you don't like to do, it really can boost your confidence because you're spending more time, again, in your unique ability doing the things that you love doing.
Yeah. And I think it's so true, right? We get stuck in the, I have to do everything myself, but then when I can't, we equate that to, failing. When the truth is, like you had said before, and I love that you said that there is no, large business that's out there that has had growth, that has done it all by themselves. Because it just
No.
doesn't, the world doesn't work that way in any aspect, even our personal lives. So I love that. So let's talk, I'd really love to have some real talk with you about sort of the common outsourcing mistakes that people make, because I think this is one area that people are like, okay, I really want to do this. I want to become a delegation queen. I want to get my time back. I want to, have all of the things like you were saying, not feeling lonely, having somebody else, to kind of bounce ideas off of, all of that stuff. So what are some of the common mistakes that you see people making when they're ready to outsource?
So the biggest mistake is there's not a magic unicorn. So you're not going to hire somebody who's going to be great at video editing and doing your bookkeeping and taking care of your email. You want to think about hiring people for their unique skills. So for example, a marketing virtual assistant would be someone who's great at video editing and audio editing and graphic design, and they're creative and they love being in that space of social media and email marketing. So you want to hire people for very specific jobs. You definitely don't want to hire a bookkeeping virtual assistant to do your marketing. So
Right.
it's
And
really
so do you
about,
find people do that a lot? Like they kind of
yes.
hire a VA and then, because I've seen this a lot, like they go, well, I hired somebody, and I'm like, but you hired a VA and you want them to run your company.
Oh, okay. So this is my biggest pet peeve.
Okay.
Don't ever say this to me ever, please, please. I want to hire somebody who'll just tell me what to do. Well, close your business and get a job.
Yeah.
Okay, that's my advice to you. Close your business and get a job.
I
So,
get that in coaching a lot too. I just want you to run my business. And I'm like, then sell it to me.
right, exactly,
And then I
exactly.
will.
Exactly. You can work for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the biggest thing is understanding that even if you're nervous or scared, or you feel like maybe you don't have great leadership skills, or you've never managed people, you still need to be the visionary of your business. You have to wear that CEO hat, you have to wear that CFO hat, and you have to wear, you have to be the chief marketing officer of your company. You don't have to do everything within that, but you need to be the person that has the vision and is making the bigger decisions and step into that leadership role. And that's how you're going to end up with great team members who like you, respect you, and want to work for your company for a long time. So that would be the first thing is don't try to hire someone to tell you what to do. Second thing is definitely there's not a magic unicorn out there. Hire people for specific jobs. You don't have to hire someone 40 hours a week. Most of our clients who hire bookkeeping virtual assistants, most of their bookkeeping VAs only work for them 5 to 6 hours a month because
Mhm.
most business owners don't have, a crazy amount of bookkeeping. So the bookkeeper takes care of reconciling and doing all the things. They meet with the virtual bookkeeper every month to go over their profit loss and their balance sheet so they can be better in touch with their numbers to make decisions. But they don't have to hire someone for 10 hours a week or 30 hours a week. This is 5 to 6 hours a month because you're hiring a person to do a very specific task for you. And that's the same with software virtual assistants. Most of our clients, they may use a software VA maybe 10, 12 hours this month. They won't use them at all next month. Maybe the following month, they might need an hour or something, but they're just using them when they need to build out new funnels and build out new landing pages, just when they actually have a project for them to do. And that's really easy, is hire them on a project basis. So just realizing that you don't have to hire someone for a massive amount of hours every week or every month.
I love this because I think that's one area that a lot of people are probably having like the little light bulb over their head go off, is realizing like, oh, I thought this was like a consistent thing that I had to do, because we've all been at the point where like, okay, I want to launch this new thing, but now I've got to create all the, the back end
Yes.
stuff that I know I'm going to be Googling. How do I do this? How do I make it work? How do I change the color? Yeah, this is all stuff I've just done recently. How do
Yes.
I get this color to change and that kind of stuff? So I think this is like a great, aha moment, I think, for a lot of our listeners too, to kind of, take a step back and go, is there something that I know I'm not really good at doing, but it's this one specific thing that somebody else could do it a lot faster than I could, and I could be up and running. And now instead of, taking a month to launch this new item, I can do it, in less than a week because I have other people who don't have to Google and YouTube and hope they find the right answer.
Right. Well, the other thing too is, if you think about it, when you're doing that, it's not just the tech side. You have the tech side, you have the layout, the design side, and then you have the copy side. In most cases, we're better off to spend our time working on the copy and getting the messaging right because we know our clients, and then have someone else do the layout design and the tech side, and then do all the testing to make sure everything's up and running properly. So it does free you up to do the most important part so the launch can be successful.
Oh, I love that. I love that. So talk to us about some of the different types of VAs. I know we've already talked about quite a few of them, but I think, if we talk about some of the ones like that you have, that you hire out, maybe this will help people to go, oh, I didn't know I could get somebody for that.
Sure. Well, first of all, let's talk about the different ways that you can hire virtual assistants, because what we do is very different than what's out there. So the first thing you can do is you can go to Fiverr and you can try to find someone there. And one of the things we encourage our clients to do is, a freelancer is also a business owner, where we try to help our clients hire virtual assistants who want to be part of a team. It's a very different dynamic.
Okay.
So you can go through Fiverr and hire someone for specific things. You can also go through an outsourcing agency. And in that case, they're doing all the interviewing and vetting the people. You're generally going to pay $10, $12, $15, $20 an hour, because that virtual assistant works for that company and you pay the company, and they make most of the money off of that VA's labor. And that's a business model. There's nothing wrong with that.
Mm-hmm.
When we first decided to do this, we were thinking, okay, how can we really empower the smaller business owner to be able to afford to hire someone and keep them long term? Because we hear it all the time that they'll hire someone through an agency, and there's great agencies out there. There's some that are not so great, but we've had stories of both. But what happens is it gets too expensive, and so then they end up, letting them go at some point.
Right.
So the way Jeannie and I do this is we like to say we're not a marketing agency and we're not an outsourcing agency. So for our clients who want to start a YouTube channel or a podcast, we interview, vet, and train marketing virtual assistants. And then we work with our client on a strategy around their marketing. So they have their keywords and everything right for YouTube, and decide what platforms they want to have their VA repurpose the content for, and talk about their email marketing. And so that is a very fixed program. And the other thing that we do is, with the virtual assistants and with our clients, we teach cultural differences, because there are cultural differences. And when you understand those, it makes communication so much easier. The virtual assistants go through a paid internship with us, and they actually have to use all of our standard operating procedures. And these were actually developed when Jeannie still owned her marketing agency. So these were things that she used to run her team. So the virtual assistant is trained on how to do all of their tasks using the software, checking everything off in the SOPs to make sure nothing gets missed. Then what we do is we work with our client to help them understand the SOPs and how to manage all of the tasks through the project management software and the SOPs. And that, I think, is where the magic happens. We like to joke that SOPs are not sexy and nobody wants them, but it is the backbone of a successful, building a successful team. So that is one of the things that we offer. And the marketing virtual assistant, because we don't mark up their labor, when they leave our paid internship, they go directly to work for our client. And that costs our client around $250 to $300 a month. So $80, $85 a week to get your video produced, your podcast produced, your social media done. So that's one thing. The other thing that we offer are bookkeeping virtual assistants. Again, we interview them and we vet them to make sure that they're skilled. And then we work with the client to figure out what is the best bookkeeping software. Yes, there are other things other than QuickBooks. We help them really understand how to maximize write-offs. It is amazing how many small business owners leave so much money on the table because they're so disorganized that they don't take advantage of everything that they can write off, because they don't, they just don't have anything organized. The other thing is it's fascinating how many small business owners are sitting around thinking, am I profitable and I'm not profitable? How's my business doing? Like, I don't know, because they really are not in their numbers. And so we make sure the bookkeeping virtual assistants are trained to help the client learn how to read their profit and loss and how to read their balance sheet. And that bookkeeping virtual assistant in their monthly meeting with the client is going to say, hey, this month you spent twice as much as you normally spend in this category. I just wanted to bring that to your attention.
Yeah.
So we want to really have the client empowered to feel like they know where every penny's going, to make sure they maximize their write-offs, and to be able to make smart decisions about how they want to invest their money to grow their business. So,
well, and I do want to say on that one, coming from a financial background myself and being an accountant for many years, I don't know how many times I said to clients, if you shoebox me, because I would always get the clients who would like come with a stuffed envelope or a literal shoebox or banker box full of stuff. The more you do, the more it costs when you do this once a year. Whereas if you would go on our plan and do it every month, one, you would have way more accurate reports beforehand. And two, it takes me more time to literally iron out all of your receipts that you've crumpled into this paper. And that was my favorite thing to do. So I will tell people, if you are one of those people who just hand it off at the end of the month, it's costing you more money to do that because honestly, I would tell my clients, oh yeah, I 100% am charging you for the time it takes me. Yes. And I'm expensive an hour. So you're literally paying my hourly rate for me to make everything, flat.
Right. Yeah. It is so fascinating because, an average bookkeeper in the US is probably $65 to $95.
Yeah.
More. If you're having your CPA do it, you're probably looking at what, $150, $175 an hour to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
If not more than that. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I understand for a lot of smaller businesses, even $65 an hour can be expensive if you need 5 hours a month of bookkeeping. Mm-hmm. Where $6 an hour plus the cost of your software, which is like $40, you're well under $100 every month and you're getting your books consistently done. You own the login and the password to the software, not someone else. And you have this ability to meet with this person that's on your team so that you can really make good financial decisions, again, to grow your business. You can figure out what your return on investment is, all the different things you're spending your money on. So I feel like that is so important. And again, you see people's confidence go through the roof after about the third month of working with the bookkeeping VA. Mm-hmm. And it's really interesting because even if that client's not doing well in their business and it's a big wake-up call, it's amazing that you can see that they have more fortitude and more drive to turn things around and to really build a profitable business. So even if things aren't, isn't what they necessarily want to see, it is very empowering. And it is interesting to see them take the reins and then start making decisions to cut costs and really focusing how they can bring in more revenue quickly. So that's pretty amazing.
Well, and I think it's easier to see too, right? Like, I always say to people, like, it's great when you see like water bubbling out of the ground, but if you just sit there and stare at it and go, I don't know why I'm not making money. Like I'm trying all of these different things and it's not working. Whereas having the bookkeeper is somebody who digs into the ground and go, there, it's right there. That's the issue, right?
Yeah.
That's the superpower of that. Sorry. Absolutely. Anyways, that's my rabbit hole. I will jump down financial rabbit holes very quickly.
well, Tanya, I'll have to tell you when we have a lot of clients asking about this, and I hire virtual assistants for CPA firms and bookkeeping firms. I've been doing that for a while, bookkeepers and CPAs, hiring them for bigger companies. But when we started having clients asking us about it, I decided to dig in and do some market research. And it was crazy to me that people who had bookkeepers in the past, or even accountants, how they felt too dumb to ask questions. I had a lady I was talking to, she was doing $5 million a year in her business. And she said every time she asked her CPA a question, she literally felt like he was scolding her.
Yeah.
And I was like, how crazy is that? Like
it's very common in the industry.
Oh, you want someone on your team who's cheering you on. You had a great month this month, and you have to pay yourself, right? So that's the other thing with our bookkeeping program is we do talk about profit first and the concept of making sure that you're growing a business that is going to pay your bills and help you build the lifestyle that you want. So I could preach on this all day and I think you could too.
I know, I'm with you too. And I always say, if you cannot even when I, had just the accounting company, I used to say to people, if you don't know, like the dumbest question is the one that you're not willing to ask. So ask me if you don't know, or if I'm starting to get into speech and you are
Yes.
like, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. Stop me. And then just say, I don't understand what you're talking about. It's okay. Because sometimes I get into the logos or I get into,
Yes.
the certain acronyms and stuff like that. But, we often forget that like we don't know what we don't know. And this
Right.
isn't something that is most commonly taught.
Right.
And it's okay to ask. And if you, like you said, if you are asking and you feel like you're being scolded, it's time to find somebody else because that is not the right person for you. That person who's dealing with your money, which I always say your numbers will always be the most important thing in your business,
Yes.
should be the one who's like, absolutely, let's sit down and talk about this. Like, I'll
Yes.
explain it to you.
Yes. And it's interesting. I don't know if you've heard this too, but they're expecting there to be a CPA shortage. A lot of people don't want to go into accounting.
Yeah.
And, you've got a lot of bookkeepers. I know two people here in Sarasota, and they're both in their 70s and they've been trying to retire for a decade, but they have clients who are begging them to stay because they can't find anyone else.
Yeah.
So if you can find a really good person, and I feel like between you and your CPA is that really good bookkeeper.
Yeah.
Who can help you take everything to the CPA organized and then help you ask all the right questions.
Which again saves you money at the end of the year. Because if stuff comes organized, it's like whoop, whoop, whoop. It's out at that higher rate faster.
Right. But then you also have the opportunity, because you know your numbers and you feel more confident about that, to say to your CPA, hey, can we talk tax strategy? Is there anything I could do to write off more things? Should I start putting money into, an IRA, or should I open up a 401k for the company? Like, you have someone, like, you have questions to ask that can start really helping you build your wealth.
Yeah. I love this. I'm glad that we both jumped down that rabbit hole together.
Yeah,
Thank you for that.
We can both preach for a while.
I know. Get out the soapbox.
Yes. Yes. And then the other thing that Jeannie and I really focus on are software virtual assistants. I'm very lucky because my business partner, Jeannie, is, her background's marketing. She's incredibly talented, creative with graphic design, but she's also very tech savvy. And unfortunately, most of our clients are like me, where I usually swear at my computer at least a couple of times a week and threaten to throw it in the lake. So that's me. And most of our clients are more like me. So about 4 years ago, we moved over to High Level or Go High Level, and we loved it. And at the time, we couldn't share our funnels with other people. So we talked to Mark and Sean, and then we ended up white labeling it. So now we have a white labeled version of High Level. And when a client signs up with us, we have actual software VAs on our team that are on salary with us. And we pay them to actually set up our clients' accounts, their email, their texting, hooking their calendars, all of those things. And in that process of doing that, that client gets to know that software VA. And then after that, they have access to hire that software VA whenever they need them for just $6 an hour. And so that has been really, really helpful. It's been so amazing to see our clients, like you said, build things so much faster. Mm-hmm. But we also realize that I think sometimes we're translators, because, when you have a software like High Level that can do so many things, it's got great automation, and the CRM is amazing. And, it can just, reputation management, it can do so much. But for the end user, we always say, just start with certain things and build up. We can give you all of these different types of funnels, and your VA can help change the colors and the copy and all of that. But if you're not sure what you want the software to do, and you're not sure how to ask, Jeannie hosts a once a month session where she talks about the new features for the software, and she answers questions for our clients who are trying to figure out, things that they can do. Can they do a survey? Can they do this? Can they do that? And so we joke that we're kind of the translators sometimes between the client and the software VA.
Which is exactly what you want, right? Because oftentimes I know myself as an entrepreneur, I get these like great ideas. And that's when I go to my team and I go, is this possible? Like, right. Like, cause sometimes I'm that person who's like, okay, we're going to go to the moon. And they're like, hang on a minute.
Right.
We can't get there quite yet, but here's a couple of ways that we can like start getting there. Right. And I think it, that it helps when you're kind of like, okay, like show me how, we can eventually get to, that point. But I find that it's also exciting when you have that person behind you who can create these ideas, because I think oftentimes as an entrepreneur, we will, I don't want to say dumb down, but we'll lessen the idea to match our skill set at that time. So like you said, we might want to do this big survey, or, have this, big funnel layout, but we're like, I don't really know how to do that. So I'm just going to make it a little bit smaller because I know how to manage that, or I know how to make that happen.
Right. Yeah. And we definitely love to sit out and, do complete maps on how everything can work to get like that big funnel done.
Yeah.
And to make sure, all the moving parts work. And then also it's so important with software is to have someone on your team testing things. So, software glitches, I don't care what software you're using, but, our team knows to like test every funnel multiple times before they say it's ready to go. And then most of our clients have a software VA who goes in and tests all their funnels like every quarter, just to make sure, every link's still working. Because sometimes things, again, it's software.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. So are those sort of the main VAs that you sort of specialize in right now?
Yeah, those are the three that we do kind of at scale. And then, if I'm working with a client one-on-one, I can help them with other things like medical records directors or intake specialists. And that's more of a one-on-one contract. I need to work with the person to make sure that they do have their SOPs in place for a particular job. And so we can do very customized things as long as that client is at a place where they have really detailed documented processes.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk a little bit now about, I think people have an idea, and I think it really helped them to kind of like hear the names and the different sort of VAs that they can hire. What are some things that can be like another light bulb moment for people that you have seen, so that they're not waiting until, like you said, when everything is completely like up in arms? Are there some things that you notice that people are like, yeah, but like, they have those buts?
Yeah, for sure. Well, first of all, AI, we're often asked, is AI going to completely replace my virtual assistant? And the answer for us is no, emphatically no, it's going to make your virtual assistant more efficient. So I think everyone's loving AI right now. They'll enjoy playing with it, but the reality is it can be a rabbit hole that you can go down and waste a lot of time.
Yes.
So we do train the virtual assistants on using AI tools, and, they're always learning new AI tools as they come out. So that's one thing that, I don't think AI is going to completely save us, but AI can definitely make your virtual assistant more efficient, which means they can do more things for you. Mm-hmm. The other thing I would have to say is I don't know where I heard this from, but I think it's amazing. If you do something more than 3 times and it has more than 3 steps, you should document it so you can delegate it.
Oh,
and a lot of people, I think, like, the whole concept of creating SOPs, it's something like, well, like, for most of us, it's like, what the heck are you talking about?
I just know how to do this.
Yeah. So it really is, it's about documenting a process. So if you do something again, more than 3 times, and it has more than 3 steps, sit down and start documenting it. And I know this can be helpful even for me. Like I said, I'm not tech savvy. So for certain things, Jeannie will record little Loom videos for things that I might do like 5 times a year. And so when I have to do that, I'll just pull up that Loom video and watch it as a refresher to remind me how to do it. So by documenting things, it allows you to start becoming more efficient yourself with doing things that you don't do very often. But it's also the foundation for building your standard operating procedure so that you're ready to hire.
Yeah. And I love this too, because I did this, years and years ago with my VAs. Like, we actually sat down and on calls, we would just record it. And I would be like, this is the kind of process I usually have. And it was great because there were some things that I was doing because it was habitual at that point. Like, it was easy for me because I knew how to do it, but it was really great to get somebody who was in that all the time, who that was their focus of learning, that they could come and go, there's an easier way to do this. And I was like, oh, really? What is that? Right. And it was like, so taking a process that was like 10 steps for me, and they're going, you can do this in 3 steps now because there's some automations now that can help with this. And so I think that was an area for me that I was like, oh, I never even considered that some of the processes I have just because I've always done it that way. But now somebody else can come in and show me how to do that, like, even quicker. Like, that's amazing, right? Because again, that doesn't need to be my expertise.
Yes. Well, the other thing is, because of automation and because of AI, your SOPs are going to change and evolve over time. And that's another thing. Like, you don't have to do it yourself. If we're talking to team members and we're talking about a process that can be streamlined and changed, we give them the instruction. We'll go in and change it in the software. We'll review it next week in our meeting. So you don't even have to update and improve the SOPs. The virtual assistant can do that for you, and you can simply review it. But it also makes it really easy if you have a virtual assistant who's leaving you,
Right.
then that person has all of the structure to train their replacement. Or, if you have people on your team for a long time, it's really important, if they have a growth mindset, that you're asking them, do you want to learn new things? Do you want to do different things? Would you like to have a different role in the company? Because you don't want someone who's fabulous to leave you because they're bored. So if you can up-level them to do other things, and then they can train, the replacement on those certain tasks that they're no longer doing, it's super easy. Because for us, it's just a matter of us hiring the right person, and then that VA can actually train them to do that particular part of the job.
Yeah. And I love this because this is so true. Like when I had businesses that had employees, I would always go, is there something that you want to try?
Yes.
Because I would see like whatever, they would just kind of like, yeah, sure, I can do that for you. It would take them like 2 seconds.
Yeah.
When it got really, really easy, I was like, did you want to try something different? And I was really surprised, happily surprised, but I was really surprised at how many people were like, yeah, actually, like I've always wanted to try to do graphic design, or I was kind of wanted to do this department or whatever. And I would allow them to move over and kind of experience it and see what it was like. And then I realized that like shifting people around, one, was a lot easier than hiring and retraining because they already knew the culture and all that kind of other stuff.
Yes.
But it also allowed, like you said, it allows people to want to stay because they can have that growth. They can have that change, that diversity that we all want, right? We don't want to keep doing the same things over and over.
Yes.
It gets, monotonous. Like these days when people are like, do you like doing data entry for the bookkeeping? And I'm like, no.
Right.
Because it's so easy to me. Like there's no challenge to it. Do I like doing forensic accounting now? Yes. Like I like digging in and finding out where money's getting stolen and like playing detective. That really excites me. But data entry, I'm happy to let other people do that for me now. Whereas years ago, that was something that I was like, oh no, I love getting it all entered and organized and filing. And now you couldn't pay me enough to file.
Exactly. And for those of you who, haven't even hired the first person and we're already talking about leveling up your employees, a great example would be hiring like a marketing virtual assistant who's going to take care of your video editing and your audio editing. Well, they may do some things in your marketing software, like set up your email to go out each week, or they may do some basic tasks in that software. And one of our VAs came and said, hey, I'd actually like to learn the software. We're like, great. Like, it's really hard to hire great software VAs. So if you want to learn that skill, we can definitely invest a few hours a week and have you work with some of the team and just start to get your feet in it. And if you don't like it, tell us you don't like it. But if you love it, then we can transition you over to do more of that. So yeah, once you start building your team, and I think, we love everyone that works for us. They're halfway around the world, but you feel like you know them. I mean, it isn't any different than having a person in your office anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You're meeting with them every week, and you get to know them, and you get to know about their families and their graduations, and you're expecting a new baby or they're moving, right? So you know what's going on in their world. And in a lot of cases, by having a steady job and not freelancing and hustling to always get new clients, by having steady work, it does allow them to build a much higher quality of life for themselves and their families.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about like some downfalls, because I think this, there are some times where people are like, I've hired somebody and it's like nothing against them, but I'm just not clicking with them. And when you just kind of go out, like you had said, when you kind of like Google search for your VA, for lack of a better description, that can sometimes be really hard. So in a situation for like you guys, what if you have people that you've kind of paired up? I feel like this would be a better opportunity because you can kind of go, this really isn't working, and you're not having to find your own.
Yeah, absolutely. So with our marketing virtual assistants, when they've graduated from our internship program, what happens is when a client is ready to bring on their marketing virtual assistant, I host a meet and greet. And that's where I'll bring in 3 different graduated marketing virtual assistants, and they'll spend about 15 to 20 minutes together with us. And all I'm looking for is a personality fit or a passion fit and good communication. So after we finish three people in the meet and greet, the person usually they're like, oh, I definitely want this person, or I'm trying to decide between these two. And then we talk out the pros and cons. When they bring that person on their team, inevitably we will know within 2 weeks if it's not a good fit.
Okay.
And it's not a good fit because the person doesn't have the ability to do the job. It's not a good fit for communication reasons or style of communication. And if that's the case, we bring the marketing virtual assistant back into the internship. We start over with the client and have a new meet and greet. So with our clients, we'll replace their virtual assistants. Usually within 60 days, we'll know, and we can replace them if there's a need for that. And then same thing with the bookkeeping virtual assistants. What happens is we find out what software the clients use, and we have a whole process. And then we introduce them to the bookkeeping VA via email, and then we have them get together and have a conversation. And generally, if that's a good fit, they move on together. If it's not, they'll email back and say, hey, we just didn't, communication wasn't quite right. And then we'll pair them with someone else. Same thing with software VAs. I think with software VAs, we very seldom, I don't think we've ever had, it's not a good fit. Because
I think most people don't know. They're like, I don't know.
Yeah, with software, you're just like, oh, thank goodness I have someone who loves doing this stuff for me, right? So, and I think the communication is a lot easier because it's just about the technical side, and generally the client is not the person that has all the information. The actual virtual assistant is.
Yeah.
So we're really big at making sure that we find that right fit, because our goal is to have that virtual assistant on your team for years and years and years. Because again, once, for example, with a marketing virtual assistant, once that person knows what type of images and B-roll, and they know your brand and your voice and all of that, they're just humming along creating content. They're taking your original video or your original podcast and they're just doing their thing. So there's very little edits or management of them once that's up and going. Same thing with the bookkeeper. Once your bookkeeper knows what's going on and they're taking care of your numbers, then it's really, you're just meeting with them, going over your numbers every month. And that's usually, again, humming along. So we have clients that are going on 5 years with their VAs. So that, I think, is when the magic happens, is when you have that person on your team and it's just smooth sailing.
Yeah. And I think that happens more often. Like my VA came from, like an organization. And then I just went to them and said, I'm growing really fast, but like, I want her. And they're like, no, you get to keep her. And I'm like, no, like I want all of her.
Right.
Like I want to hire on, like I took her on as an employee underneath us. Because we worked so well together, because I was like, no, I don't want to train anybody. Like, everything. And then she's moved up and now she's like my partner in crime. Like, I don't know. I'm like, good Lord. Like,
right. What would I do without her? I don't know what I'd do without her.
Don't like, what do you need? I need you. There's a few people I need in my life, my husband, my son, and my VA. Right? Like, don't ever leave me. Like, what do you need? But I love, and I just want to reiterate to people that, because I think a lot of the times they think on too large of a scale that they have to have, full-time work. So I love that you're saying this can be something that is project-based. This can be something that you just start out with to help you to start to free up that time, and something that you can grow into something bigger, like potentially taking on full-time employees and stuff. But this is a good bridge for that. And also, I think for people learning how to delegate, because I do feel like that is the hardest thing for an entrepreneur who was every hat in the business for a long time to let go, right?
Yes, we do a lot of coaching around that.
They're like, take my firstborn, don't take my business.
Right, exactly. Yeah. We do a lot of coaching around that. And it's, it's a skill like anything else. You just have to learn it. You have to be patient with yourself, and you have to just be consistent and learn that you'll grow into that role. And over time, I think it becomes easier to bring on additional people, and your confidence goes up with that. So again, it's just like all the other things you had no idea how to do when you started your business, but it's something that I think it changes not just your business, but your life, because I do feel like it really accelerates people's growth, and it really helps with their confidence. And it really changes how you see yourself and your business once you have that support.
Yeah, I agree. I think, just to give some of our listeners like another aha moment, I think my greatest, like, as we were talking, my greatest, like, breath in having a VA was the first time I took a holiday. And when I came back from that holiday, my inbox wasn't full. Like I didn't have 400 emails that I had to get back to. I wasn't overwhelmed. Like she was even so great that she knows that I get really stressed when I get back. So she like didn't book any meetings for 2 days so I could like slide back into work. All stuff I would have never done myself, right? And
Right.
so
You would have come back crazy,
I
cleaned
would
out
have
your
come back and I would
inbox,
have dove right
jumped into
into it. I would have
meetings.
booked myself. Yeah, I'm back on
Yes.
Monday. I'll start doing meetings on Tuesday. But she was like, she knew me well enough that she was like, let's give you an extra day to just kind of get in, get back, get used to stuff and get into it again. And I didn't realize it at the time, but it was like looking back, I realized, oh my gosh, I was so less stressed. And then that became like such a desire that I was like, I didn't realize how stressful a vacation was to me. That
Right.
when I was doing it all by myself and I was coming back to this chaos, like when you come back from like a holiday and you're like, oh,
Right.
like you just know going back to the office is going to be a nightmare.
Yeah.
I didn't have that anymore. And for me, that was like worth so much to be able to come back in and go, oh, everything was handled. Like,
Yeah.
wow, this is great. Like everybody was answered. And I could just get back in and feel relaxed and rejuvenated, which again is the whole reason why we take a holiday in the
Right.
first
Now, are
place.
you taking more holidays as a result of that?
Yeah, now because I have built the team that I do, I actually usually June, July, and August, I'm kind of MIA a lot. Like I still have my groups and my coaching clients and stuff, but I
Right.
know that all of the other like regular stuff is handled. So I go and spend my time at the lake, and there's a lot of times that I don't work, which
Yeah.
like I mean 10 years ago that would have been unheard of for me,
Right.
because I needed to be there every day, 5 days a week. And now it's like more and more becomes addictive. Like you
It
said, when
does.
you start that
Yeah.
delegation thing, then you're like, why am I doing this? Somebody else
Yes.
do it. Like
Yes.
you become
Exactly.
royalty, I say, where you're just like,
Right.
send it to one of the workers.
I love that. It's funny because I'm definitely more of a delegator than my business partner, Jeannie. And so, when we're meeting, I'm like, why are you doing that? Oh, I haven't had time to delegate it. I was like, well, instead of doing it, spend time to document how you're going to delegate it and let's get it off your plate by next week. So I kind of have to push her a little bit because, like, let it go. But it's so funny. Every time she does delegate something else, she's like, oh my gosh, I wish I'd done that sooner. But
Yeah.
we don't work Fridays. We work Monday through Thursday. We generally have a quick meeting on Friday. Sometimes we will work a few hours if we've got a big project, but for the most part, I'm by the pool on Fridays. And
Lovely.
we close the last 2 weeks of the year. And we say we're all off, including the team. But there's just a couple things I have to do. Like I have to do payroll, and there's a couple things that Jeannie has to do, and there's a couple of things that our lead people do. So we're basically off. We're just doing these little things that have to be done to keep, to keep the wheels humming along. And then Jeannie's actually going to Ireland for 2 weeks in June, and then she's going to the beach for a week in July. And so us being able to have all of that time, when we talk about buying back your time, that's what we're talking about, is
Yeah.
how much it changes your freedom and your lifestyle.
Yeah. And it did it. Like it took me a while to trust, but it was
Mm-hmm.
just working with that VA and having, like you said, having that person who's on your team that I know I'm in good hands when I leave. I know I don't have to worry about it. I know if I do get a phone call, it's because there is something that she needs help. Like I know it's an
Right.
emergency. There's
Yes.
something that she needs, my opinion on, which I don't really get very often anymore because now she just knows, right?
Right.
She
Yeah.
knows she knows what I can constitute an emergency, which is a lot. Like my width, my span of what I consider an emergency, having a team, grew. It's a really big hole now.
Yes.
I'm like,
I know.
unless
Yeah.
somebody's on fire, like, and even then, if somebody is, we always joke and I go, okay, so I'm heading out on holidays. If somebody is on fire, and all the team is like, we call 911. I'm like, exactly, because a fireman will do that. That's not if
Right.
somebody's
That's not what
dying,
I
don't
did.
call me. I can't help you. So it's
Yeah.
kind of an ongoing joke. But the truth is, that for me, it was great to have the tasks and everything done. I love the sense of feeling like I'm not the only one who has to do this. I'm not the only
Right.
one who's invested in my business.
Yeah.
The team that I've grown is invested because it's their growth as well. And the
Mhm.
culture that we've created
Yeah.
is inspiring, and we all, can get excited about stuff. And I think that, to me, people forget about that when they're hiring, when they're looking to outsource, is you're looking to build people that are just as excited about your business as you are, that want to
Yeah.
watch you succeed as
Yeah.
much as you want to, because your growth is their growth.
Absolutely. And the other thing too is to be able to give them vacations and encourage them to be completely off and build a team that can cover for each other. So everybody gets long holiday weekends, everyone gets vacation time. And then also sharing the wealth. As a business owner, when you have like a really excellent month, we always say share the wealth with the team, keep the salaries, reasonable, and just share with large bonuses. And that keeps your overhead steady, but it allows them to participate in the hard work that they've done and the success that has come from everyone's hard work.
Yeah, and it's a great write-off.
Yes. Yeah. Pay taxes on that money.
I've used that before, that everybody's like, this is so exciting. And I'm like, I needed the write-off, but I'm glad it worked for everybody.
I love it. I love it.
So if people are sitting, because I know there's people who are listening that the wheels are turning right now and they're thinking like, oh, I need to do this, or I need to get more that are on my team. How do they go about finding you? How do they go about working with you?
Yeah, just go to our website. It's Six Figure Business Coaching, and that's SIX Figure Business Coaching. And lots of information there. There should be a place where you can book a call with me and we can just chat. My goal is always to find out, who you are, what your business is, and, if there is a way for us to help you. And if not, I'm always trying to connect people together. Like you and I both believe in collaboration. So if someone reaches out and what they need isn't what we do, I do my best to find somebody who can help you.
I love that. Well, we're going to have all of the links to where people can find you and start doing some deep diving like I was doing, because there was a lot of interesting information that I found too. So I don't think it matters where you are at in business. This is something that you need to consider. So we're going to have all of those links. Kirsten, thank you so much for coming on. So being so open and honest, even with like pricing and stuff, I think that gives people a really good idea, and I know has lit up some light bulbs. So let's keep them lit.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a great conversation.
I want to thank Kirsten so much for coming on the show. I hope you had some light bulb moments of different ways you can think about starting to grow your team, which in turn grows your business and lessens the amount of time you need to spend. Time is one thing that I think we all want. It's like I said in the episode, one of the reasons we go into business is because we want to be in charge of our time and we want to be able to use our time the way we want. But to do that, we need the time to be able to use. And that's where outsourcing and virtual assistants can really come in handy. So I hope you gleaned a lot out of this, got some ideas of different ways that you can look for outsourcing some of the things that you do, and also creating your SOP so that you can feel comfortable doing that. So you can do, like we said towards the end of the episode, taking those holidays and really feeling like you can just shut off because you have the right people in place who are handling things back home, and you just get to sit and sip pina coladas or whatever it is that you love to do on your time off, because we all deserve that and we all need to have it. So I really encourage you to check out the show notes, to go to the links that we have on different ways that you can work with Kirsten and her team to really start building a team that you love, that helps you with your growth, that helps you with your profit, and gives you the business and the time that you've always dreamed of, because it is possible with the right people in place. And Kirsten is one of those people that can help you. I hope you enjoyed this episode. We have so many good episodes coming up. We're going to be talking about everything from finances to the inner workings of your business and some little fun things that you can do when you've already built that team. So you're going to want to stay tuned to our future episodes that are coming up, because this, ladies and gentlemen, is the new version of Fox Talks Business Podcast. And we are going to give you even more things to pay attention to listen, to learn, tips and tricks that you can use today to get your business where you finally want to. If you are interested in moving the needle in your business faster, we also are going to be opening up the doors very shortly to our 6-month coaching program. In this group coaching program, you don't have to grow alone. And that's what this is all about. This group experience brings together ambitious women entrepreneurs who are ready to scale with strategy, community, and confidence. It's not just about learning, it's also about doing the work with others who get it. We're going to be doing collaboration and connection. We're going to be talking about financial clarity and how to not have that overwhelm about it. We're going to give you actionable strategy that you can start implementing on moving that needle. And you are going to get money mindset and confidence coaching so that you can feel like you are finally fully stepping in to your dream role. So if you are wanting to make a change in your business, if you are wanting to really move that needle, this might be the program for you. We're going to have all of the info in the show notes as well so that you can learn more about it. I can't wait to see you in it. It is always life-changing, both for the clients that are in there and for myself also. I love growing and collaborating with all of you, and this is my favorite program by far. So when you are ready to grow together, learn together, and profit together, my group coaching program is there waiting for you. And as I always say, no matter what it is that you're deciding to do today, whether it's outsourcing, whether it is finally building that team, or whether it's just really thinking about what it is that you can start to delegate, I want you to make sure that you're taking time to have fun. Because as I will always say, if you're not having fun, why are you doing it?